Hello, everyone. This is Lin Nguyen of IT-Conductor. I'm the CEO and co-founder, and we'll take you through. Thank you for joining today. Our automation innovation around the SAP system refresh today, as part of our solution to innovate and automate the post-copy automation. I will give you a live tour of the solution. But first, we'll go through some introductions as part of our company as well as our solution offerings. And then we'll also have a Q&A after the demo as well. But you can feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A section, and we'll get to that as soon as we can. So without further ado, I would like to get started. A little bit about us. IT-Conductor was created 10 years ago, headquartered here in Silicon Valley, and our core solution platform revolves around SOAP. It's the Service Orchestration Automation Platform. So we deal with end-to-end comprehensive scenarios of orchestration as a solution to solve IT operations challenges on a daily basis. We are live patented platform that is a SaaS offering, so cloud, one platform available everywhere. Our core mission really is to automate, orchestrate IT to simplify the operations and also efficiency of your team. And a little bit on the background of IT-Conductor, we can move on to what Flux is. I have a little bit more introduction from our website. I can talk about our solution on our website. We have workflow orchestration. Solution for refreshing is part of our orchestration, and we have a page dedicated to what is system refresh. I'm sure everybody who's working SAP technically has been through this at least once in their work life, is having to do with the refreshing of QA systems, either for testing, for modernizing the data that's from production, but keeping the technical configuration to help them speed up the process. So with this refresh background, we have a solution in the market that does both end-to-end refresh. And when we say end-to-end, it's completely taking care of things from before you copy the database to even doing the database refresh and then doing the post-copy steps to bring back the configuration. So our offering does include full orchestration, end-to-end, and also individual tools. So this is where Flux fits in. IT-Conductor FLUX is created to generate an ability for you to do just the post-copy automation alone, because teams may have already process in place or technology to do things like database refresh using storage, etc. So, and then the basis folks normally get in and do the configuration, either reconfigure manually or bring back the configuration. So Flux is here to create this ability for you to automate the before and after so that the data can come back and the system looks like QA and not production, etc. And you can start testing as soon as possible. So offering built on years of experience we have in what we previously had a solution called sid-refresh is still offered. It is a Java tool that runs on the SAP system itself. And understanding that now with the ABAP-native solution with the Flux, is essentially is an ABAP-native solution, right? So anyway, I can leave this information if you want to get more information about how IT-Conductor FLUX fits into the overall picture. But I'll go back to the presentation real quick here. So Flux, again, is a latest solution for PCA, and we deal with our experience in packaging the technical configuration that will save literally hundreds of steps for you to do the refresh of your system. Typically, we'd see customer having hundreds of steps between the time that they get a database copy until when they're ready to turn over to the testing team. And this will shortcut it. And a lot of our customers, as well as managed service provider, already use our existing refresh solutions today. So there's a little bit video here we will play just to give a high level what that tool is about, and then I'll go into some of the benefits.
Introducing IT-Conductor FLUX, the future of SAP automation. FLUX is an SAP-native post-copy automation tool designed to streamline your data management processes. It operates entirely within SAP GUI. Harness the power of SAP's R3 trans for robust data handling. Enhance efficiency with seamless background job management. Enjoy transparency and easy troubleshooting with detailed logs. Perfect for RISE deployments, Flux integrates effortlessly with SAP environments, requiring no OS-level access. Automate complex processes, reduce manual effort, and minimize errors. Scale effortlessly and integrate with IT-Conductor's service orchestration and automation platform. Transform your SAP operations with IT-Conductor FLUX. Contact us today to learn more.
So what are some of the features of IT-Conductor FLUX? So first of all, obviously to automate the configuration, as we know, many things like connectivity, even licenses or trusts or users, these are things that are in QA system that you want to bring back as soon as you have a database business data refresh, right? So those are things that are configuration. We call them packages that we can automate. Also, from a GUI standpoint, everybody understands SAP GUI, everybody's comfortable with it, it's native, and it's also ability to support for customers who may not have OS access because they may be in a managed services or like SAP RISE. And leveraging R3 Trans allow us to also support cross-platform independent. So if you're on Windows or Linux or different databases, R3 Trans is still SAP supported globally for all your systems and objects and table data as well as config data. And we leverage the SAP background jobs. So built into SAP ABAP stack, we leverage that to drive a lot of concurrency, parallel processing, and being able to track the logs of all of the data that we refresh for you from a technical configuration standpoint. And that also allows us to drill down into the logging capabilities. So seeing exactly what was refreshed, what table, what data, how many rows came in, came out of the system. So that's also gives you auditability for compliance. So when you refresh data, you might go through compliance depending on your companies. And the logs are there for you to provide that as part of compliance process. And then integrations, as we also are end-to-end platform for automation, orchestration. We can also talk to the SAP system. We can monitor what's going on. We also, before and after the system refresh as well, being able to also execute some of these jobs, either automatically as part of our workflow orchestration as well. Okay. So benefits that see our customers in the last 7 to 8 years have leveraged our system refresh solution, has seen high efficiency. Obviously, you want to be able to do refresh more often, automate that, reduce manual effort, as well as reduce the chance of errors where you might turn over system to QA people and then they find problems because something wasn't configured right. Transparency, obviously being able to, as I said, compliance, being able to support what was refreshed, what config was brought out, what config was brought back in again. And the flexibility of running this essentially inside of a GUI allows you to anybody in the basis typically does this job can do that. And then the integration into IT-Conductor overall platform. And our solution today, actually, SAP has just approved. We've been on SAP Store as part of our IT-Conductor partnership with SAP, actually. So Flux will be incorporated in there. It's already been reviewed, approved by SAP. And so it will be as SAP Store offering as well. So looking at how it works, I'll go into a more detailed demo. But essentially, we have a Flux cockpit that drives most of the configuration, and that will allow us to do the exporting, importing configuration, picking of what configuration to export, picking what to bring back in, and then running those exports, monitoring the jobs as well from export import and looking at the logs for troubleshooting as well as completion status. So that's really built into a single transaction in the ABAP stack. So if you are considering moving also to SAP RISE, as most customers have this journey in the next 3 to 4 years, we are full RISE compliant because the tool itself does not require SAP to work the refresh for you, except for a database copy that they may do as part of their service level. As soon as they turn over the system to you, you have ability to then directly get into your production client using SAP GUI and bringing back the config as you need to support your user testing. So again, with SAP compliance, we also rolling out again on SAP Store as part of this move, but RISE customers will benefit with this because you will no longer have access to the OS and the database in a RISE environment as part of the SAP support team. So that is some of the features that we have benefits for generating this solution. Okay, so let's step through. Right now, I want to go into real product demo. So let me explain how the product demo will work. Essentially, we have IT-Conductor FLUX. It's a transaction, right? With Z-Flux, third party. You import the solution. You get the configuration cockpit as the number one starting point here. So with the configuration, you can create a configuration that can be used to export, that can be used to import, that we use to log, as well as keep a compliance record for what was actually used in the refresh. And this is inside the transaction. So I'm going to go through and talk about a few things that I will, for the purpose of the refresh. Typically, you would have a database restore in the demo. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time, so we're not going to do a full database restore. So we're going to simulate some changes in the system in terms of config, and then we'll bring back some of that. So some of the things that we can do, for instance, is take a look at building a new configuration, exporting that, and then bringing that configuration back after the refresh, right? So one of the things I want to kind of, just simply show some of the configuration. So basis people, when they bring it up system online, they may have operation modes. This is something that you running for changing the timetable and the configuration of your application server. So we created one here for the Flux demo. So it's an operation mode, right? You can also have things like, I would say plan settings. One of those things that typically when you bring back the QA system, you might have clients settings that I may, for instance, in this one, ECAT is allowed, right? So maybe you are doing testing in QA, you're using ECAT, you might have client settings that are different than what's in production, so you can refresh that as part of the config. Some other things like, for instance, batch server group, for instance, these are also configs that typically basis people would do manually. And in here we define a batch server group, for instance, that's some custom. So if you refresh this from production, let's say production is called Z03, the system is Z02, it will have Z03 there, will not be valid. So you want to bring that one back as well. So some of these are examples of things that we take a look at. So for instance, also for background server group, RFC-con, this is just examples I will go through, but these are typical things basis again would look at, for instance, configuration of default servers, assignment to background RFC groups. These things can be also refreshed, right? So I'll give you another couple examples. So for instance, let's see, you might have also specific operating system command. This is something that basis also support, like interfaces, maybe scripts that run. We have one here. I just created one for this particular demo, for instance. This is just a simple command, right? Running a listing on our Flux directory at the OS. And you can see it just does a simple command. So these type of configurations, when you create it first time in a system, you might have to actually have a change correction or transport to capture it. When you refresh the database, it's no longer there. It's not in QA. Then you can bring it back. So some of these are things like that. Even things like SAP license as well can be supported through that. So let's say, for instance, license, you don't have to put the license back in manually. It will be refreshed, come back to the system like that, okay? SAP profiles, all of these things are supported. So I'm going to quickly just create a config to do a export so you can show you. So we have ways to do this. You can either copy a prior configuration. So I did a test just for this webinar. I just did, okay, simply I have a configuration. I've already picked a bunch of packages that I just showed you briefly some configuration. You can export, you can import. So exporting, you can see the flags. That green shows it's already exported. Green shows it's imported. But I'm going to create one fresh as just a quick test to show you how this thing works, right? Let's say, for instance, if I want to create a new configuration, right? I can do, let's just call webinar 3 today. So how the configuration work is that it will store all the packages that you choose to refresh as well as the logs, and it stores that in an export data directory. So this is the default directory we use. Everybody knows SAP system has user subtrans. It's common. You don't have to use that location. You can put in another location if you have storage files access and capacity. But let's say we create this. When you first create it, it's going to give you the list of support packages that we support for the refresh configuration. Just to give you an idea, we have detailed documentation on our docs wiki about the information that we use to allow you to pick what you want to bring back, right? So you can export everything if you don't know what to save, but you from there, you can pick what list you want to restore back to the system, right? So for instance, I'm just going to go through the list and pick a few just to do a test. For instance, I might do that DG, maybe batch server groups. I'm just going to pick a few and run a couple of simple tests to demonstrate. External commands, maybe we have logon groups, login screen. Again, you can see the type of information. Up modes I just showed you there. I might pick that one as well. Even SAP profiles. Maybe you have printers defined. You want to bring back definitions because production printers might be different in QA. Printers, maybe RFC destinations, so on and so forth. You can pick, and then after you're done with that, you can simply save. Even one of the things you do when you refresh system is that you get a transport configuration for change management that looks different now, right? So let's say if I want to save this. So now I have a configuration, and it shows that these are the packages that I select for export. And then if I want to do the export, I just hit this button. Going to perform the export. Okay. And we get back in here. You can see status is exporting. You can hit refresh. And voila, it's already completed the export, right? Now, if you want to go in and look at what's exported, you know, the jobs, you can actually get the detail log of all the tables that are contained for those packages that contain the configuration for technical config. And you can see all the logs are there, right? So again, that's done, right? So I'm going to simulate something real quick, and we can pretend that now the system is going to go through a so-called database copy, refresh, and then we're going to, first of all, so we've done we're going to simulate a database going to get refreshed, right? So first of all, typically you would suspend jobs so that you don't, when you bring up the system database copy, you suspend the jobs. It's a typical basis task. So we're going to suspend jobs so nothing runs before we refresh the content and bring back the other content. And then, so once, if you have RFC connections, you want to make sure that they're not firing off jobs to production or some other thing, right? So just some basic things we can check. Let me see if I go to maybe one of the operation modes. I'm just going to pretend I'm going to delete something here, right? I'm going to delete this op mode. Okay, maybe a couple other things I want to delete. So maybe I'm just gonna. So maybe I have this is maybe a production that I'm going to delete something that belongs to production. So I'm going to delete this. Okay. Let's pick another one. Actually, SM69. So one of those OS command I actually showed you. So maybe you have a bunch of commands using your system interface, and I'm just going to delete this. Okay, there's a few things there, right? So the idea here is that now you have a new database. It came in without those content. Now you're going to restore back those content so that the system will look like it's essentially, maybe let's good thing to do is also delete the license. I think I include the license in here. You know, double check. Actually, I didn't do license, so I won't delete the license then. Okay, so delete a bunch of things. I'm going to go back to Flux, right? And I'm going to, so when you first launch Flux after the database get refreshed, of course, the database content now is from production. So we actually read in the config that was stored on the operating system during the export. And all of these previous refresh you might have done every month, all of that will come back in automatically to the system. Flux will know and bring in that metadata. And then you're going to pick the most recent one that you want to bring back. And you have all these export already, right? So you can select only the ones that you want to bring back. And you don't want to bring back the other guys. So let's just do everything, right? Even though we didn't change everything else, but we did definitely up mode. We did some RC destination and I think external command. So I'm just going to say import. Okay. So that was fast, right? So all the packages except SDMS. Okay, so they're all done, right? So let's make sure we verify one of these jobs. Again, the import job to show you exactly things, how many entries or whatever got brought back. Right. So once Flux is done, you're pretty much done with the technical config. So your basic thing that used to tech you all those manual things have basically come back to the system. And typically what we want to do is, we want to release the jobs. That's a typical thing that would, after you read big bracket save, execute that. And let's go verify some of the things, right? So we did the RC destination. That guy we deleted is back now, right? I think we did also up modes. So let's see, up modes. We deleted this guy, now it's back. And I think we did external command as well. There's some, again, there's many different things. There's configuration depending on whether you use CRM, ECC, BW. So you see this command now is back. I can even run it just to make sure. And it runs it, right? List the directory where our configs are. So that's essentially Flux, right? It's made really hundreds of thousands of different tables in configurations, easily used in a refresh, be able to be exported before you do database, and you bring it back after the database copy is done. And voila, the system is now looking like a QA system again. Okay. So that's the official Flux solution. In a nutshell, we kind of support that. I did a simple basic thing to check, but you can do a full-fledged export if you wanted to do that, or just some parts like users or certain types of technical config. And you don't have to do this only for refresh. We also allow you, obviously, if you just want to save some config and not have to go through technical manual steps that need you to actually create change record or correction, you can save your config right through this method. So it's useful for also migrations and those type of tasks. Okay, so I'm going to kind of open up questions. If anybody has questions, you can feel free to raise your hands. I can answer that. But essentially, today when you attend this, you are eligible for drawing. If you get names to drawing, if you want to look at a solution, you get some discounts from us as well. So all right, so any questions, feel free to raise your hands. We can unmute you if needed. All right, so let me show also while we're waiting, if anybody has questions or not, we can also show you our so we have our docs.it-conductor.com. This is our public-facing wiki page. Under our solution, you can go down to our automation. We do a lot of other system-type automations, not just refresh. We can do everything you can see on the list here, including full end-to-end migration. for cloud migrations. But you scroll down, we have one of the scenarios here just below the transport automation. We also have scenarios around the refresh. So previously, I say the sid-refresh is where we had our Java-based tool, and now we have the Flux as part of the solution listed here. So if you're interested, you see how it works in detail, what I demoed, you can see it here. We documented it. All of that is in here if you want to follow up. Other than that, we will also share the recording of this webinar. So if you have other team members who weren't able to attend, they can take a look at that, and then feel free to reach out to us if you want to take it for a test drive. And again, as part of today's attendee, you'll get a drawing. If you're one of the lucky ones, you get actually, we have two offering 50%, 25% off as well. Or just have a one-on-one demo with us, and you have the video there. So all of our packages, frequently asked questions, belongs to sid-refresh as well, are here listed. So feel free, if you have any questions, to reach out. Otherwise, most of these answer how the product is supported through different operating systems, what packages, those type of things, what type of systems, what if you have NetWeaver, ERP, or CRM, SRM, S4, HANA, etc. Everything there is supported from that perspective. Okay, so I think that wraps up our presentation today. I'd like to thank you for attending the webinar. And hopefully, if you reach out to us, we'll be able to help you on a one-on-one with your environment, specifically to cater for your needs around system refresh automation. Okay, thank you.